Hey there, I'm Lee Rowley, and this is Lee After Dark. Why? Because there's more to being a business leader than just business. Each episode, one brave entrepreneur ejects the elevator pitch and just gets real with us for a while. And today I am very happy to introduce and welcome Justin Benton. Justin, how are you today?
Hey, I'm doing great, Lee. Thanks for having me on. So honored to be here and just love talking all things about life and success and anything I can do to share our experiences. I really look forward to sharing them with your audience.
Awesome. Well, you are definitely in the right place because our audience loves to dig deep. So the rules themselves are simple. For the next 20 minutes, we don't talk about anything on earth you want but your business. After that, you get 5 minutes at the end to pitch up a storm. Not that anybody really does that, but you can do it if you want. It will be entertaining. All right, simple enough. Okay,
Love it.
let's go ahead and set a timer then to keep us honest. And as the question always is, what the heck do you want to get into for the next 20 minutes?
Well, for me, I think that a lot of us who are, entrepreneurs and business owners are trying to, juggle a lot of things. And I think it's kind of fun to talk about, how do you prioritize? How do you, balance that, that life and family and business and personal and whatever else that is a priority in your life. How do you balance all those kinds of things? I think that would be a fun topic.
Absolutely, that's great. That's something that we talked a lot about when the pandemic first hit and people were starting to work from home and discover the challenges of it, and there were droves of people moving toward entrepreneurship out of either not having a choice or just being at that point of their lives of like we were sequestered for so long that so many people rethought their lives and said, you know what, I don't want to go back to a corporate world. I don't want to go back to someplace where somebody's going to tell me what to do all the time. And so they began that entrepreneurial journey, but it's definitely a challenge. So what have been some of the big challenges for you over the last year or so?
Well, I mean, for us, we all had to kind of find that rhythm. I have 4 kids, and in the beginning, there was just trying to make sense of everything, of course, and make sure that you were doing the things that you needed to do to protect yourself and your family and your business and your employees. But then it came down to readjusting life, and for a lot of us with children, the whole homeschooling thing was pretty wild. And not being able to do some of the regular activities that we would normally do, like going to the movies or going out to restaurants and things, was definitely a challenge for a lot of us. But like us humans do, and especially Americans, we adapted, and we got into a new rhythm, and we got the homeschooling thing down, and takeout became the thing, and a lot more people started cooking at home and doing all those kinds of things. And like you said, I work with Wyatt Woodsmall, who's an NLP guy that actually trained Tony Robbins back in the day, and he's in a mastermind that I'm in. And
Oh,
he had a
wow.
really great question, and his question was, as we're talking about balancing things and prioritizing things, he wanted you to like list your top 5 priorities in your life, and you can just jot them down. Like, what are the top 5 things that mean the most to you? And so you write 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then next to them you write the amount of, like, the percentage out of 100%. How much time do you spend in each one of those categories? And I know myself personally, I was, I put my family at the top, as many people do, and then obviously business and entrepreneurship and all those kinds of things, and other things were on my list. But as I wrote down the percentage of time and energy that I was putting into my top priority, it was lopsided. And so
Mhm.
it really kind of helped me reevaluate what my priorities are. And I think a lot of people over this last year and a half have had that opportunity. It was kind of like a halftime, just like, halftime, let's go into the locker room and let's reevaluate our game plan, reevaluate our priorities, and just make sure everything's in line. So that's some things that worked for me.
Okay. What do you think that it is primarily that gets our priorities out of whack to begin with. Because I mean, obviously, if we stop and think about it, it's completely illogical to spend the least amount of time on the top priority in your life. How do we get that way?
I think a lot of it, it comes with us. We'll put more planning into a vacation trip than we will into our businesses or our lives, where we actually sit down and write out, what is it that I want? What does my ideal life look like? What is my goal for a year or 5 years? And literally write it down and put a plan together. A
Sure.
lot of us, especially entrepreneurs, we have the shiny object syndrome, and we're just always chasing the next thing. And we don't, you kind of get into that day to day grind, if you will, and you're just chopping trees down in the forest, and you don't really have a game plan to where you're going. So for me, it helps to really have a clear picture of where I'm going, what my priorities are, and just, it's amazing. Like someone said once that the pen can be your magic wand, and whatever
Mm.
you write down on a piece of paper can come true, but you do need to write it down and make sure that you have a very clear vision. So for me, it's just really being very clear with yourself, being very clear in your mind about what it is that you want. And if it's more time with your family and children and spouse, then write that into your plan.
Right, right, and that way. It's not a someday thing. So many of us have all of these things that exist in this nebulous someday. When the circumstances are right, when it's the perfect temperature and the wind's blowing in just the right direction, when everything falls into place, then I'll do this stuff. And then
Exactly.
that stuff happens when you stop breathing. I mean, it's like that's when you get that break. So you have to discipline is a big thing. I'm a big Jordan Peterson fan, and so one of his big things is like, look, you have to have the discipline to have goals in the first place, to have dreams in the first place. Otherwise, you're going to sit around and think about them and go, well, wouldn't that be nice? But I could never have it.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, like I said, a lot of people they will literally plan out a summer vacation,
Mm-hmm.
and they'll get their itinerary, and they'll research all the right places and the right restaurants and the right activities, but they won't take half as much time to plan out their life and really just put a plan into place. And it's amazing what you can accomplish when you start to get very clear with what you want out of your life. And it's the first step is just write it down. And I've been amazed in my life and in so many other people's that I've seen, that when you really get focused on a goal, it tends to come true. It's amazing.
Absolutely. What we focus on, we create, and what we write down, as you say, we create more of. And I think one of the reasons that people don't think about those goals and what they really want is because there's some intrinsic voice pattern training that's telling them that they don't deserve it. And that's fine if you don't feel like you deserve it right now, but you deserve to at least write it down. I mean, like, that's even if you're a terribly awful person, that you should be able to write down your dreams, right? And that's a first step. So
Absolutely. And
awesome.
yeah. And I think another thing too, to get there, to get what you want out of life, I think a big secret, if you will, is that you just need to surround yourself with people that are either living the life that you want to live and have had that kind of success or achievement, or people that really support you. And that, because it's all about energy. And if you have people that are always kind of putting you down, or they have their own issues that are pulling you down or dragging your energy down, it's really hard to kind of overcome that.
Mhm.
And just to be, they all say that you are your expectations, and you are the closest 5 people that you hang around with. And it doesn't mean physically, especially in the last year and a half, we haven't physically hung around each other very much. But
Right.
so that, and like right now we're hanging out, and our energy is contagious, and uplifting and lifting and positive and things like that. So I know with things like Zoom and with the online platforms that are out there, that you can surround yourself even if it, because it used to be back in the day, with like audio cassette tapes and things, it would you be like, you could surround yourself with Tony Robbins, right?
Right.
Or whoever it was that
I
could
remember
lift you
that.
up and give you a different perspective. So I always tell people to be real mindful of the 5 people that you surround yourself with the most. And sometimes those are family members. And sometimes you have to put those boundaries up. If they're not supporting your vision or the things that you want in life, doesn't mean you can't, call them on Mother's Day or see them on Thanksgiving, but you just need to be very mindful of your own energy and that people around you are supporting you. And if they're not, then have a conversation about it. And if they don't change, then you got to find a new top 5 would be my suggestion.
That's very true. And I'm glad you addressed, like, the people in your life that don't support, because I mean, I hear so much time that, that people have in their lives that, like, okay, they don't support me, but I can't like, they gave birth to me, so I can't get rid of them, or something like that. But well, no, but you can control what you let in here, right? And sometimes those boundaries have to exist, inside your skin, because there are people that won't respect them and so forth, but to say, hey, I have the person in my life who won't support me, it's another excuse, because as you say, you can create boundaries even if they're internal boundaries.
Absolutely. Well, I think a lot of us know, and especially in the world that I'm in professionally, that we are what we eat, but we also are. It's not just what we consume and put in our mouth, but it's also what we allow into our brains. And so I just think it's so important in this day and age of social media and news, and so much out there is driven to basically consumerism and sell you things and push buttons to get you to react. And it's like the Facebook slot machine with the notifications and the adrenaline rush and the endorphins. And so you just got to be super, super mindful of every decision. Like, one of the cool things is a new platform that I really like for myself personally is Clubhouse. And the founders, Paul and Rohan, one of their initial goals when they set up the platform was that they wanted the people that use the platform to leave the platform in a better place than where they started. So their energy level would actually rise, and they would be in a more positive place than when they actually started. And I think if a lot of us would take that test with everything we did, whether it's going to the movies, social media platform, watching the news, having a conversation with somebody, like, measure your energy level 1 out of 10. Like, how do I feel right now? Like, oh, I feel like an 8 out of 10. Great. After that conversation, movie, social media platform, news, now measure your energy level. And if you're below where you were before, then maybe you should make some different decisions about those kind of choices that you do. And just, again, surrounding yourself with people or things that lift your energy level up and allow you to pursue those goals that we talked about earlier.
That's right. Netflix is food too, just not good food.
Exactly. And there are some good things on Netflix. If you look for good, there's documentaries and there's good stuff on there. And but I'm super mindful of it. And yes, there's reading books and audios and people and webinars and courses and again, hanging around loved ones and just all of those things. I just think people need to be. I mean, I'm not trying to preach here. I practice what I preach, but just be real mindful of what you let into your head.
Awesome. Totally agree. Prioritizing, you talked a little bit about that at the beginning. So, when you're creating those priorities and you're setting the boundaries, so what are daily activities that you personally use to just make sure that you're keeping on tabs on those priorities? I mean, other than, writing down and keeping track of them that way.
Well, I think for me, one of the biggest, because I'm always looking for secrets and hacks and things that, like, what are other people doing that are successful or happy, and hopefully both. And one of the things that I noticed is morning routines. Okay. And it's real because it's like Aristotle said, we are what we repeatedly do. And so I think it's really important to get your day started off right. And what does that mean? Sometimes that means the night before. So getting that full night's sleep is so important, and figuring out your sleeping routine, because that's the way the body recharges energy and heals itself to restart over in a new day. So making sure that the night before that you figure out a sleeping routine that works best for you to get a good night's sleep. And then when you wake up in the morning, like for me, and what I've seen for a lot of people is you got to get like at least 20 minutes of some type of exercise. And that can be walking. It can be on an exercise machine or a gym or whatever it is for you, but just getting the juices flowing. Then there's got to be some type of mindfulness. Some people it's prayer, some people it's meditation, some people it's just silence, some people it's writing, some journaling or some things like that, and kind of setting up your day for positivity. And I always, for me, I like to listen to a lot of audiobooks or podcasts like this that lift me up. And so again, I'll start my day listening to a podcast that I can measure will lift my energy up and put my head in a good place and get me asking myself questions, good positive questions that have that momentum. The other tool that works great for me is good old calendar on my phone with alarms. Like if I don't put my calendar on my phone with alarms, it doesn't exist. Reality lives in that calendar.
Sure.
And so, like this morning with our podcast today, I have to have an alarm that sets me up. So figuring out some system to understand what your day looks like. I like to take a glance at my calendar in the morning, and just kind of see what I have going on for the day. So those are some of the things that have worked best for me, as far as prioritization and getting my day started off right.
Awesome. No, is it the exact same routine every morning of the week?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, pretty much. I think, like I said, the thing that I probably wish I did a little bit better job of is I don't journal as much as I probably should. Not necessarily just for me. It's just it seems like so many people are having success with it. So I have a bunch of journals, and I do like a couple of them. Right now, the one that I like the best is probably Brendan Burchard's journal that he has. It asks really good questions. And my favorite question from the journal, which I ask myself probably daily, is if you were your own high performance coach, what would you tell yourself? And it's just kind of like,
Okay.
if you were your own cheerleader, what would you tell yourself? Because a lot of us have the answers inside of us. And we sometimes, whether we have our own self-limiting beliefs or we think someone else has the answers, a lot of the times, if you're just real quiet and you ask yourself, what is the one thing that I would tell myself if I was my own coach, and you'd be amazed how truthful and hearing that and thinking about that and sticking to it. Like for me, one of an answer might be like just being patient. I think a lot of us, high achieving entrepreneurs, high achievers we're just so impatient, and we push and push and push and push, and we don't stop and smell the roses and just take a breath and kind of look how far we've come and how many obstacles we've overcome and how many successes that we've had. And to just be real mindful of what we've done and enjoy the journey, because it is always a journey. You never get to a destination and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, life is great. It's every day is going to be an opportunity for you to overcome and just enjoy the process.
That's exactly right, and eloquently stated. I remember Alan Watts once asking, if you could have everything exactly the way you want it, then what would you do? Eventually you would invent a problem to solve, because that's what we're wired to do.
Exactly.
But that's exactly right. So we got a couple of minutes left in this segment. Any parting thoughts on this end to wrap things up before we move over to the commercial stuff?
Well, again, like I said, I think whether you're finding a physical mentor or a digital mentor or just who you surround yourself with, I think it's just so important that people, in this day and age that we live in, whatever it is that you're looking to accomplish, whatever skill, whatever insight, it's all available. There are experts that are out there that have accomplished the thing that you want to accomplish. It used to be you'd have to get a library card and go to the library and find these books and read these books and things like that. And that was really the only way that we could do it. But within the last 10, 15, 20 years, the answers are out there, and there really is no excuse. And so whatever it is that you're looking to accomplish in life, there are people out there that are successful, that are experienced, that can help you. And it's just an incredible time to be alive. And I just challenge everyone to go out there and write down what it is that you want to accomplish, and find somebody who's going to help you get there.
Awesome, Justin. Well, thank you so much for sharing your insights and motivation. This is exactly what we need to get things pumped and get our new projects going. I've got a new project myself that I'm trying to push over the hill. So, that's definitely been inspiring and helpful for me. So thank you very much. And to be a man of my word, I would like to give you 5 minutes to talk about your business, how people can get in touch with you, what they can buy from you, whatever. The floor is yours, my friend.
Perfect. Well, one last thought before I go transition there. I was also thinking was, getting a coach. So, and that's kind of in the same vein, but finding a good coach that holds you accountable, and it could also be an accountability partner. But a lot of times, if you're really looking to get to that next level, finding a good coach, and sometimes that means spending a good chunk of change, because it's not about like, oh, you need to spend money to get good value. Sometimes you need to spend money to make yourself accountable. And you might skip a meeting, or like if you're in a mastermind, if you've invested enough money, it makes you pay attention. And so another piece of advice I would give your audience is, if you're really serious about taking things to the next level, find a coach that's done it. Look at the resources, ask around, all those kinds of things. You might have to try a few different coaches on for size that have expertise in the specific area that you're looking for. But I think finding a coach is really, really, really important, because we can't see our own blind spots. And sometimes we need that second pair of eyes to kind of give us a little perspective on the things that we're doing. So just one last little nuance there for you.
Awesome.
But, as far as me, I was in sales and marketing for my whole professional life, and it's almost going on 30 years now. And I was really successful, and I was really good at it, and I've gone down all the rabbit holes. And life was good, and all of a sudden, we were having our second child. We had the house, the white picket fence, the dogs, you name it, and everything was great. We were playing. My second, my son was born. I had a daughter the first go around, and we were, everything was good. And we got the call that no parent ever wants to get, and there's an issue, there's a serious issue with your child. And so we, it's a total gut punch, and there's denial, and a grieving process, and we, our son was diagnosed with a very severe autism diagnosis. And so at the time we had no idea what it was, and if it was a life sentence. And so you just kind of look for answers. And in our journey of trying to figure out a way to clear his brain and the fog and everything that had happened, we had came across some research that there was a plant out there that was helping children with epilepsy and seizures. And so we were kind of like, well, that's a good lead. And so we tried some products that were out there that were made from this plant. It goes by a lot of different names: hemp, cannabis, and so on and so forth, Sensimelia. And so we tried some products in the market and didn't really have the success we were looking for, because my son was already talking, he was already engaging, we were playing t-ball, and then all of a sudden language and everything went away. And so we knew that he was in there, but his body was attacking itself, and it wasn't able to detoxify the heavy metals and pesticides. And so we found this miracle plant, and then we found some research that this plant, when you juice it, Dr. William Courtney is the original researcher. About 10 years ago, was helping people with severe cancer by juicing cannabis. And so that made so much sense to me. And at the time, this was about 6 years ago when we were looking for a solution, it made so much sense that why would you heat or isolate or mess with this beautiful plant? Why wouldn't you just juice it like celery? So that's what we did. And my son was at a pumpkin patch. He was having a horrible time, and he had his hands over his ears, and he was kicking and screaming while all the other kids were playing. And we had grown some hemp out here in California, juiced it, cold pressed it, gave it to him in a little tincture form orally, and literally 2 minutes later, he snapped out of his tantrum. The grandparents were there, the aunt, the uncle, and everybody, and they were like, "What was that? What did you give him?" And that was our beginning. And now he's no longer on the spectrum. He's considered neurotypical. I just dropped him off at school with his other two sisters about 10 minutes ago. And he's a healthy, happy kid. And so we set up an organization, 101hemp.org, to educate other parents and other families affected by autism. But then a lot came in, all at once that, in 2018, they passed a farm bill that made hemp very, very clearly legal again for everybody in the country. And so things just kind of went crazy and nuts, and people came to us for all kinds of autoimmune diseases and all kinds of things. And so now we've just been helping and serving people as best we can. And I'd love to throw a free offer out there for your audience so they can try this product for free if you'd like.
Oh, awesome.
It's if people just go to freechillcbd.com, they can get a free bottle of this chill CBD oil, try it for themselves, and let us know how it works for you. We see people, the top two reasons people reach out to us is for pain and for anxiety. And we just love people to try this plant. And we also teach people, if you put in the notes at checkout, it's just a free plus shipping offer. We can send some free hemp seeds for you to grow in your backyard, because it's totally legal, and you can juice the plant yourself just like we do with our Omega juicer every morning. So that's a little bit about us, and I'd love to answer any questions. And I know you've had an opportunity to try it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, I don't do this for every guest, but you were kind enough to send me, and guys, most of you who follow me for a while know that I had a back surgery back in 2008, and I have been hating life ever since. It was like barbaric. It really, it's just horrible. But anyway, so I never wanted to go on like the morphine opioids route, because I drank a lot of alcohol back in my 30s, and I know that I can get addicted to stuff. So I just, best ways to just don't start. So this stays on my desk at all time. This is the roll-on, the raw relief. And then what you were talking about right here, which one is it? Of course, it's the last one I pick up, is the Chill X. It's a tincture. I was kind of surprised when you told me 5 to 7 minutes under the sublingually. I always thought it was a few seconds or something, but that really does make a difference, because and having full spectrum, I've tried some other ones from dispensaries and not had a whole lot of effect out of them. But I can tell you that me sitting here for a half an hour and not being in pain talking to you, it was something that probably wouldn't happen without that. So, because it was getting harder and harder before we met, and thankfully you turned me on to this. So this is my personal, not requested recommendation / testimonial and so forth. Nobody pulled my arm or threatened my cat or anything like that. So anyway, really good stuff. You should definitely try it. Okay.
Love it. I'm just happy it's working for you. And we hear incredible stories all the time about pain and stress and sleep. So it's pretty cool. And at the end of the day, like I said, we want to pay it forward for what this miracle plant did for our son and our family. And we want to teach people just how to grow it in their backyard. It's super easy. If you can grow tomatoes, you can grow cucumbers. So I love it.
Okay, we'll have to talk about that.
Exactly.
All right, well, we'll have the links to the free offer and everything else in the show notes, so people will be able to click directly and take advantage of that. Thank you for that very generous offer. Any last words before we wrap this up?
I just wanted to thank you for having me on, and I've been a great fan of your work, and it's incredible that you are quite a maestro yourself, and I'm sure your audience knows that, but I've just been really honored to be able to cross paths with you, and very excited to be impressed by your work for many decades to come.
Well, likewise, Justin, thank you. It's been a pleasure speaking with you today. Thank you again for all of your insights and for taking the time to hang out with us today. We are out of time, but if you like Lee After Dark better than most of the dreck out there, then subscribe to my daggone YouTube channel. People, I want to get over 100 subscribers and nobody will do it. Subscribe, subscribe, subscribe. How many times do I have to say it? And we're also on Anchor FM, Google Podcasts, Pocket Cast, Pocket, all the, I don't know, all the places you listen to podcasts, we're there too. So go subscribe there too. Okay. And tell your friends about it because more people need to watch Lee After Dark. All right. Until next time, this is Lee Rowley with my friend Justin Benton saying, be present and be well.